we keep dancing around this issue. But the problem is past decisions have brought us to this point. And so the reality of it is, yes, I would like to do 94 cents, but I understand the constraints on my constituents and constituents across this county. And so it doesn't make sense that four of us said we wanted 15 million, and then now we're talking about 89 cents, which doesn't even, that's 9 million. It's not even close. And so we can throw little backhanded shade about the increase to public safety, but still we need to think bigger and make decisions that's going to move the county forward.
Okay, Supervisor Vanuch.
Yeah, so I think here are my thoughts, right? This isn't our money. It's $1 billion budget. There's plenty of time to move things around and prioritize. In my opinion, the 89-cent total tax rate requires us to do that hard work. We haven't, I'm telling you, I've sat through these budget meetings last year, and they were brutal because nobody wanted to make tough decisions on what to cut. And we did hear from a couple of people today about a 94-cent tax rate, but I've gotten so many emails about these assessments, because I can tell you in the rural area, like in Rock Hill and Hartwood, those people were hit probably the hardest with those assessments. And I'm really worried that if we go up to 91, we're not going to do any hard work about cutting what needs to be cut and having fruitful budget conversations. I'm really concerned that 34% of our residents in this county received astronomical assessments. I mean, I got emails from people who got assessments 30, 40, 50% higher than they were last year, on top of the 20% increase in taxes that they've received over the last 2 years. It's too much. And then in November, we're potentially going to be asking voters to go to the ballot box and support a 1% increase on sales tax to go to school funding. They're going to say no. And so I'm trying to be strategic and look at the long game. It's not about short funding schools. It's about the long game. It's about getting the support of the community for them to see where the investment and funding needs to go. We have data centers coming online next year. We also have the 1% sales tax that will be going to the ballot box, hopefully, if we can get support for that from the board to move forward after the General Assembly moves it forward. It did already pass the House and the Senate. And then we'll have so many more millions of dollars to allocate to staff increases, since we're not going to get the COCA salary adjustments from the state. That's the long game. The long game is about making sure that we can fix this and not continuing to have these short decisions every single year on funding this and funding that. So that's why I'm going to stick firm on the 89 cents. And hopefully it passes. I don't know if it will, but we've got to roll up our sleeves and do some hard work for the residents in this community, because these tax increases are unsustainable for our constituents.
Okay, Supervisor Gary.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I wanted to just give some clarity to the comments about the 94 cents. I believe that would be the appropriate rate to advertise at. I wish that we could. I don't think that there's consensus for that. And as we've seen, last year, sometimes things can get a little wonky and it can be confusing and sometimes very troubling for people. So what I'm trying to do is find a point of consensus. So I'm willing to come down to option one, which is the 91 cents, even though I don't think it's ideal. And I'm concerned that it would further drop after we advertise, because that does happen. We have to find a flight path, and we do have to work together, as was advocated by so many people. And so I feel like the path forward is to advertise at the 91 cents. If we can come to consensus on that would be ideal. So that's what happened to that for me. I do want to make a comment to the statement that no one wanted to do the hard work last year. I think that it's important to recognize that every person on this board is doing the best that we can, and we are doing the hard work, and we entrust staff to do, I do entrust staff to do the hard work, and our county administrator to bring us a budget that makes sense in the first place, and much has been cut. Much has been cut from what is already in front of us. So that's really important to pay attention to. Short-sighted decisions have been made in the past. Some of that was using funds, one-time funds, for continuing expenses, and we're paying for that this year. So these are hard discussions we do have to have.
I don't think it's a fair assessment to say that we're not sure if board members are going to do the hard work. That's unnecessary. That's one. Two, the reason why I am at the 8969 is because I do know what it's like to have to pay a significant amount of taxes on the salary that I make. So I'm not doing this because I want to. I could tell you, I've told you guys stories already. You can look at any videos. At one point, I was driving Uber and paying these taxes. So I'm not saying that I'm not signing up for something that I wouldn't do. But I think the important thing that we need to remember is that during our joint meeting with the school board last week, and I think I specifically asked that question, and I think Dr. Young may have asked it too, was that what would happen if we didn't fund the school board at their request? What would the first area of removal be for the school board? And the superintendent said personnel and compensation. So automatically, it doesn't matter how we cut it, we're not going to be at 50 million. Let's just all be willing to say that. We're not. But which budget can get us close enough so that we are not losing staff? Because at $9 million, he's not going to be able to fund his staff the way he needs to. And I can already tell you guys, they've told us, Prince William is advertising almost, 9%, I think it is, some ridiculous amount of number for their school and support staff. And so if we're looking to cut his staffing compensation while our competitors are raising, I mean, that's a no-brainer. And I think at the 8969 is a fair compromise for those who fully want to be at 94 and those who want to be a little bit more fiscally conservative in terms of understanding the significant financial burden that everyone is enduring with all the assessments that have taken place over the last 2 cycles.
I know one of my neighbor's house went up $100,000, and it's a very small, nice, moderate home, and she's on a fixed income. So how do you account for all those people in Stafford County that are on a fixed income? How do you balance that? The 94 that was proposed by the county administrator, and our effective rate is 84, 89's kind of right in the middle. Is it giving the schools everything they need? No. Is it giving the county everything they need? No. We have the substitute motion on in front of us right now. So,
Madam Chair, could you repeat what that is, please?
It was option, just for her, it was option 2 that was shared with us earlier from our budget director, Andrea Light. So the tax rate would be 0.8769 and the fire levy 0.0131, which is totaling around, I think it's 89 total rate.
Thank you.
okay, please cast your vote. And this is to advertise. Tally the vote. Okay, that motion fails. So we'll go back to the original motion. The original motion maker, could they please restate that motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move to, can we bring that back up, please?
It's this one.
Yes, to approve R24-70 with a real estate tax rate of 0.8969 and a fire and emergency levy tax rate of 0.0131.
Okay.
Madam Chair, quick point of discussion.
I didn't.
Sorry, there was a
Did I get
second.
a second?
There was a second.
That
Okay.
was already issued.
It was already seconded.
Thank you.
She was just repeating it. I just wanted to make a mention really quick because this does keep coming up, and this is something we can deal with separately and later. I think that our board should start pushing for some sort of age-in-place legislation at the state, so we don't have to keep worrying so much about our seniors and people living on fixed income. That's something that I think we should look at. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. This is the original motion. Is there any discussion?
My final comment is going to be, I'm really concerned about advertising at this amount because I did not hear a majority of the board members say that they were going to work in budget sessions to go any lower than this. I heard a lot of substantiating reasons as to why we need to vote on a 91-cent total tax rate, but not enough of a majority to drive it down. Therefore, forcing that burden on the board members who wanted to propose a rate that we could have worked with, it would have been very easy, very transparent, and easy to work with the public. It's very concerning. Thank you.
Okay. Please cast your vote.
Madam
for the,
Chair.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's a very important point. I'm happy to work through some of our budget work sessions and see if there's anything else that we can cut at this. I think it is the right rate, but I'm happy to look at that, and I think the rest of us would as well. I would hope so. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I second that as well. I will commit to working on that. So,
Okay, thank you. All right, please cast your vote for the .8969 and .0131 for the tax levy. Tally the vote. That motion passes 5-2. Okay,